the original blueprint of consciousness, which is basically the portal of dark matter energy.
70-pound
so that
girl.
is also the representation of the phallus of Osiris merging in with with the zero, which is also known as dark matter energy. When you get into the binary code system, because the one is the representation of photons, right? And the photon is cultivated by trapped light, and the trapped light works in tandem with the electrical grid node that corresponds with the firmament. So what I'm saying is that the electrical grid and the moon and Saturn is what created the artificial consciousness. But the original blueprint of consciousness is extracted from the magnetosphere, where you see my cursor at, that is teleconnected to the 144,000 chosen ones that has an authentic consciousness, because that's the whole activation of mind science technology by way of the appetites and the calcites and the magnetites and the dendrites of the brain, which is the 144,000 crystals. That is the mycelium network that connects you to the star Polaris and what they call the galactic center to unlock the golden ratio spiral within the body. So that's why I said the spirit of Melchizedek, which is the Houthi, which is soul, is actually, the equation for pi, which is 3.14, because the 3 is a resurrection principle, right? The Trinity principle, because the 3 is a representation of the mind, which is manifestation, and then you got the 1, which is the representation of the prana, which is the life force energy, and then the 4 is the representation of the foundational blueprint of the balancement of the mind, body, and soul, which is the etheric frequencies of the spirit of Melchizedek. Because the spirit of Melchizedek operates on the frequency of thought. But the only thing that's faster than thought is, thought is faster than the speed of light, because light travels at 186,000 miles per square feet. Thought is the only thing that can spark creation. So the more that you raise up your consciousness within the simulation, you collapse this electrical grid, and it's going to collapse the artificial consciousness that's being projected by the NPCs that's connected to the conscious energy grid of the three-dimensional matrix. So when you're looking at right here, you're looking at the golden key and silver key. We're going back to the star Polaris. So that's the reason why when they came out with the movie Aries Tron, because Aries, the movie came out during the time of Libra season. So Aries and Libra is the crook and flail in ancient Kemetic spirituality that also corresponds with the pillar of severity and mercy that also corresponds with, the Masonic square and compass. So that's what you're looking at. Everything that you're seeing taking place right now is basically a microcosm and a macrocosmic cosmic clock taking place in real time that corresponds with the biological parts of humans, the planetary bodies, and the consciousness of humans on the planet. Now, this is where you see the merging of dimensions. It says groundbreaking new image of black hole pairs seen orbiting each other for the first time. Now, like I said, new heaven and new earth.
Bdell.
Revelation chapter 21, verse 1. So that's when you have the third dimension merging in with the fifth dimension. The electrical grid merging in with the conscious energy grid at the top. That is the third dimension merging in with the fifth dimension, as you have the 3-eye atlas.
75 for real. Just so y'all know. I'm not playing.
Magnetic field of planet Earth, which
I'm
is
really sliding.
The quantum,
75 curls.
That is an upgrading to
I'm only 150
that
pounds.
has its own ecosystem
Like
within
156.
the factors of planet Earth. Now,
Trying to tell you.
so now, this plasma vortex of energy is from the solar energetic particle chain that is basically streaming intelligence down from the mental plane, which is also known as the magnetosphere, which manipulates the ionosphere and the atmosphere, which is why you have the manipulation process of oxidation levels. So the oxidation levels is basically being manipulated because of the solar radiation that's being projected from the energetic particles of what I call neutrinos. Neutrinos are Holy Ghost particles. Holy Ghost particles have the ability to travel down to the planet at 90-degree angles because it's basically the numerical code for the resurrection process, right? So what you're seeing taking place right now is basically a form of time dilation. The more that you see the plasmic vortex open during the time of the solar energetic chain particle being extracted from the mental plane, that solar radiation in itself dematerializes the electrical grid to where you have a manipulation of power outages. So the more the planet speeds up in vibration to create these plasma vortexes, what's going to happen is you're going to have the collapse of the third dimension in totality, which is why you see in the great majority of everything that was, rigged and everything, the conspiracy, the illusion is breaking. The house of
that was a Mardi Gras mask.
Because you're having the merging
masquerade
of black
ball. They've been knew about that.
Of black holes is two different dimensions merging together.
That's the masquerade mask right there. They've been knew about that.
So that means that the material order is the world at the same time. That's what's taking place. That is when you're talking about the pillar of severity and mercy. That is what you're talking about when you're talking about chaos and order. That is when you're talking about the crook and flail in ancient Kemetic spirituality, which is also a representation of judgment through a great purification period through balancement. Everything has to go through a restoration period, which is the supplication process. So now, they said astrophysics says there are now 1 to 2 Starlink satellites falling back to Earth every single day. So like I said, the satellite is teleconnected to the moon. The moon is teleconnected to Saturn because Saturn is basically like, the PS5. And then the moon is basically like the TV. And then all the electrical cords is basically like the satellites that is teleconnected to Saturn and the moon. So when you have the manipulation process of the satellites, that basically disconnects the game. That disconnects the motherfucking TV. That disconnects the whole PS5. That means that the game is over. So when you have a manipulation process that's taking place within the electrical grid because you got the satellites falling, that eradicates the whole illusion that was connected to the three-dimensional world that makes up people, places, and possessions, right? This is why I said during the time, as we transition in the time of November, Scorpio season, right? Because November is when the veil is the thinnest. You're going to be able to see beyond the illusion. This is why they're telling you about 3-Eye Atlas and all this other crazy stuff, right? Because we in that time period, the illusion is starting to break. That is a part of the sleep spell of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is being teleconnected to the moon to where you're trapped by your dark side because you cannot step into your light, which is the true math that's connected to the magnetosphere, which is the mental plane, which is the abode of the Most High, to where you become a god. And you're not looking for no dead self that's teleconnected to the energy of the moon because all the religions, they work off the Sabbath, right? So that's why everything that's connected is being used as a catalyst to keep you stuck here. So now that you got these satellites basically being eradicated, now you can step into your God frequency, right? These satellites is basically like, the planet Earth, and they shackled to, they shackled the chains. So the satellites around planet Earth is basically like the chains, basically. So the planet, was in a state of subjugation, in a prison state. But now we're ascending right back into the galactic center due to the magnetism of intelligence that's streaming us back, through the mental plane. So now it says that Earth now has 2 moons. New moon will travel with us until 2083, says NASA. Now, one thing you gotta understand, like I said, the moon is the external hard drive of planet Earth, and it messed up the human circulatory system. And as you have, the frequencies of planet Earth starting to raise up in vibration because of the neutrinos and all these chronomass ejections that's creating all these plasma vortexes of energy that's pulling you right back into the golden gate of what I call the galactic center. What happens is the planet speeds up in vibration. The moon that they have in our simulation, it starts to get further from Earth. So now, this is basically a war tactic, which is a form of frequency modulation. Now they're bringing another moon into the solar system to keep us in a state of control because the other moon is basically starting to
a couple years ago,
dissipate
trying to shot up
due to the
another
consciousness
sun,
being
right?
activated by way of the conscious energy grid that's connected to the star pole.
Just hitting 70s. Like 70 pounds. $85. Went to 85. So we know we're not playing here, right? Oh yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Not playing. 130 fight. And just so you know, I wasn't bullshitting. So you know it wasn't no fluke. For sure, for sure. Lunch break, niggas. Lunch break, nigga. All the way up from 70, 85, 115, 135. Salute.